Sarawakians to brace for bad weather. Johor voters reminded to comply with SOP. And 91.1% of adolescents fully vaccinated. Those are the headlines for tonight. I'm HAMIDI and this is TVS Nightline. The mutual understanding and cooperation between locals and the state government is a vital component in the state's effort to continue the sustainable development agenda, especially in regards to the utilization of local lands for the undertaking of state development projects. LANDSLIDE explained that the acquisition of temporary occupation license or TOL land is an approach taken by the government to ensure that further infrastructure development can be implemented.
Ini merupakan satu pendekatan kerajaan untuk memastikan pembangunan infrastruktur seperti jalan raya, jabatan, transmission line, air dan sebagainya akan terus dijalankan dan ia akan melibatkan banyak pengambilan tanah. Jadi yang penting ialah pengambilan tanah ini akan kita beri pempasan mengikut penilaian yang dijalankan oleh Jabatan Tanah dan Sabit.
LANDSLIDE added that such practice of acquiring land for development are carried out statewide as long as there are consent from the local residents. At the same time, he did not deny that there have been disputes in terms of the amount of compensation given. However, he ensured that the dispute will be resolved accordingly, with priority attributing to continuous development projects to benefit the area. 4 individuals, including 2 women, were detained to facilitate an investigation of a missing 4-year-old boy last Sunday. The child had allegedly gone missing since February 22nd, under the care of his mother's friend at a residential area in Jalan Daya, Bintawa. The suspects, or locals, were aged between 24 and 49 years old. Kuching District Police Chief Assistant Commissioner of Police Ashman Baja said a special team has been established to expand the search. The suspects were found to have 17 past criminal records, namely 14 drug offense records, 2 property criminal records, and 1 commercial criminal record. The test results of the suspects were also all positive for drugs. 2 investigative papers have been opened on a missing person and another under Section 31(1) of the Children Act 2001, which involves investigations against guardians of children involved from aspects of abandonment and negligence. Police also appeal to members of the public with any information to come forward to the nearest police station or contact the investigating officer, Inspector Hasma Abdul Jalil at 013-685-2210. Now, METMALAYSIA said an adverse weather alert is expected starting March 14th up until mid-May, with forecasts of thunderstorms, heavy rains and strong winds as the state enters the monsoon transitional phase. During the monthly transition phase, the department noted that Sarawak will experience weak winds from various directions that are very conducive for thunderstorms, which usually leads to short episodes of heavy rains and strong winds. Its Director General Muhammad Helmi Abdullah said the monsoon transition phase also marks the end of the northeast monsoon that began on November 3rd last year. Adding to that, he said these incidents will occur mostly during the evenings and early hours of the night in most parts of the West Coast states and remote areas of the peninsular west of Sabah, as well as West and Central Sarawak. As such, the public has been urged to exercise caution during this period and regularly check for weather updates and alerts by METMALAYSIA. Updated weather forecasts and warnings issued by METMALAYSIA can be referred on the agency's website, My Cuaca mobile application, METMALAYSIA official social media platforms, or contact the hotline. The Cebu Municipal Council's SMC abattoir was instructed to close down for 60 days as some pig samples conducted tested positive for African swine fever. However, in order to resume operation of the abattoir as soon as possible, Dudong Assemblyman Dato Sri Tiong King Singh hopes that the relevant units will cooperate for the costs. Tiong noted that the Veterinary Bureau and the Cebu City Council must discuss how to carry out the disinfection of the abattoir and seek to complete it within 7 days. And also to formulate the standard operating procedures to prevent future infections in the slaughterhouse, including that all transport vehicles need to be disinfected when entering and leaving. The closing of the abattoir for 60 days brought a lot of dissatisfaction to the catering industry and the public. After preliminary discussions at a specific online meeting this morning, Tiong has urged the Fire and Rescue Services, Department of Land and Survey, Public Works, Cebu Rural District Council to all work together to address the African swine fever issue. Tiong also said that in order to deal with the reoccurrence of swine fever in the future, Cebu Municipal Council Chairman Clarence Ding suggested the construction of a specific crematorium should be considered as the current burial method is unsanitary. Although the cost is relatively higher, the authority can draft a proposal to be forwarded to the Office of Premier of Sarawak for fundings. The official results of the placement 4,828 successful candidates in the Special One-Off Recruitment of Education Service Officer or PPP, Grade DG41 will be announced on March 18. Senior Education Minister Dato Dr. Muhammad Razzi Jidin said all the teachers involved will be reporting for duty on April 4th.
Adding further, Razzi said the special one-off intake of 18,702 teachers was made to address the shortage problems in several states, including Sabah, Sarawak, Selangor, and Johor. Razzi added that the decision to conduct the recruitment was made after thorough discussions with the Public Service Department PSD and the Education Service Commission SPP.
Now, in an effort to promote economic development in Sarawak, Sarawak Economic Development Corporation or SEDC is conducting a joint collaboration with UEM Agenda Berhad. The collaboration aims to propel further sharing of resources to ensure smooth delivery of mega infrastructure projects in Sarawak.
UEM Agenda Berhad's wholly owned subsidiary Opus International M. Berhad or OIMB and Sarawak Economic Development Corporation's unit PPES Consult Sdn Berhad or PCSB entered a joint venture via a shareholders agreement through Opus Consultants Sarawak Sdn Berhad OCS. In a joint statement today, they said the joint venture would be 51% owned by PCSB and 49% owned by OIMB. This collaboration will also support the development of local expertise, with OCS providing project management and engineering design consultancy services for Sarawak's key construction and engineering projects. SEDC General Manager Abdul Hadi Abdul Kader expressed confidence in Opus project management and engineering design capabilities in achieving the goal of boosting economic growth and improving the welfare of Sarawak's people. IR Dr. Tony Chan, Managing Director of OIMB, said the collaboration could assist Sarawak attain developed economy status by 2030. The parties will engage over the next 5 years through the strategic partnership, focusing on innovation exchanges to develop and enhance technical engineering capabilities throughout Sarawak's commercial, industrial, and socio-economic sectors.
ke ulu, sidak si tahu kita pemburu. Sidak cemburu, tanda sidak sakit say I see you. Siknya senang nak senang sis, siknya susah nak susah bro. Siknya senang nak senang sis, siknya susah nak susah bro. Kita ke ulu, sidak si tahu kita pemburu. Sidak cemburu, tanda sidak sakit say I see you. Kita ke ulu, sidak si tahu kita pemburu. Sidak cemburu, tanda sidak sakit say I see you. Hustle.
Saksikan Hustle Hasil setiap Sabtu dan Ahad 12.15 tengah hari hanya di TVS saluran 122 Astro dan My Freeview.
Korang nak tahu mana tempat best? Jom saya bawa anda semua jalan-jalan menerokai tempat menarik di Sarawak dalam sini tempat best yang bakal menemui anda 6 Mac ini setiap Ahad jam 4.15 petang hanya di TVS saluran 122 Astro dan My Freeview.
Thank you for staying with me. Now, 91.1% or 2.83 million adolescents aged between 12 and 17 have completed their COVID-19 vaccination as of yesterday. According to the COVID Now website, 94.3% or 2.93 million of this group have received at least one dose of the vaccine. As of yesterday, a total of 1.09 million or 30.9% of children aged between 5 and 11 years have received their first dose under the National COVID-19 Immunization Program for Children or PICKIDS. Meanwhile, 64.6% of adults have received the COVID-19 booster dose, while 97.5% have completed the vaccination and 98.7% have received at least one dose of the vaccine. On Thursday, a total of 64,759 doses of the vaccine were dispensed, of which 20,178 were given as the first dose, 1,736 as the second dose, and 42,845 as the booster dose. Under the National COVID-19 Immunization Program PICK, a cumulative number of 68 million vaccine doses have been administered. 4 individuals were buried to death in a landslide in Taman Bukit Permai, Ampang, yesterday evening. The only survivor, an 84-year-old man, managed to escape with minor injuries in an incident that also affected 15 homes and 10 vehicles. Oh my God! During the incident, residents in the area heard a loud bang caused by 2 landslides that occurred in succession during heavy rain. Prior to this, the Malaysian Meteorological Department, or METMALAYSIA, had forecast heavy evening showers until March 14. After receiving a distress call at 5:54 p.m., the search and rescue SAR operation was activated in search of the 5 victims. The search and rescue operation ended at 2 a.m. after Ampang Jaya District Police Chief Assistant Commissioner of Police Muhammad Farouk Eshak confirmed that rescuers had found the remains of the last 2 victims. However, Selangor Fire and Rescue Department Director Nora Zamkami said they would deploy their K9 unit tracker dogs at the site to ensure that there are no other victims involved. The landslide incident also caught the attention of Prime Minister Dato Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob, who then addressed in a brief Facebook message his sadness over the tragedy and asked the public to pray that all victims will be found safe. Meanwhile, more than 200 residents from 48 houses were ordered to evacuate following detection of land movement. Hulu Langat District Officer Dr. Ani Ahmad said the order was issued to avoid any untoward incident and allow authorities to conduct a detailed evaluation on the area. He added, despite activating a temporary shelter, no victims were placed at the center as they choose to stay with their relatives, hotels, or homestay nearby. The Election Commission (EC) today reminded all Johor voters who will cast their ballots in the state election tomorrow to comply with the Standard Operating Procedures (SOP). This includes wearing a face mask, using hand sanitizer, checking body temperature and observing physical distancing. EC Secretary Dato Iqmaluddin Ishak said hand sanitizer would be provided at all polling centres, as the voters would be required to sanitize their hands at 4 stations, namely at the main entrance to the centre, at the entrance to the polling channel, at the polling station before receiving their ballot papers, and before leaving the polling centre. As such, Iqmaluddin said voters with COVID-19 symptoms would be allowed to cast their votes at a special tent monitored by health officials, while those categorized as patient under investigation (PUI) and person under surveillance (PUS) must obtain prior permission from the district health officer to go to the polling centre. A total of 2,539,606 normal voters are expected to cast their votes in the state polls tomorrow at 1,021 polling centres statewide. Barisan Nasional (BN) is confident at securing a comfortable victory in the Johor state election tomorrow. Its chairman, Dato' Sri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi, noted that the victory would enable the party to strengthen its dominance in Johor.
Saya lihat dari segi observation atau pemerhatian kita dan juga berdasarkan kajian kuantitatif yang mengambil pendekatan empirical study, kita mempunyai keyakinan bahawa trend itu, gelombang itu telah berubah. Namun untuk menterjemahkan gelombang itu dalam bentuk undi itu bergantung kepada GOTV, Get Out the Voters, pada D-Day, pada 12 hari bulan itu. Dan saya harap dengan kesiapsiagaan jentera, dengan komitmen para pengundi dan dengan doa restu para ulama dan juga ahli-ahli ibadah, InsyaAllah kita akan memperolehi kemenangan yang cukup selesai, insyaAllah. Saya sebutkan bahawa saya tidak mahu mendahului hukum Allah dan saya tidak mahu mengambil kerja Allah. Tetapi kita cuma berdoa dan mengharapkan kemenangan yang selesa kepada calon-calon Barisan Nasional bagi kita membentuk kerajaan, dan kerajaan ini adalah kerajaan yang dominan di bawah Barisan Nasional.
Commenting further, Zahid said that the voting landscape in Johor's election this time is different because for the first time on March 12, voters aged 18 years and above will participate and vote to determine the leadership of the Johor government. Now, the Ministry of Health (MOH) has denied that it issued a directive on the provision of voting channels in the Johor election for those who are COVID-19 positive, as viral on social media. Through its official Facebook post, MOH urged the public to ignore the audio recording. Earlier, a 1.08-minute audio recording went viral, claiming that those who were positive COVID-19 could vote on the condition that they inform MOH of their personal details such as name, address, and telephone number. The audio recording also claimed that vehicles belonging to MOH complete with personal protection equipment PPE would ferry positive COVID-19 patients to and from the polling centres.
Nak tahu apa saya masak kali ini? Jangan lupa saksikan Cooking Orang Bujang setiap Selasa jam 10.15 pagi hanya di TVS saluran 122 Astro dan My Preview.
Kita ke ulu, sidak si tahu kita pemulu. Sidak cemburu Tanda sidak sakit say I see you Siknya senang nak senang sis Siknya susah nak susah bro Siknya senang nak senang sis Siknya susah nak susah bro Kita ke ulu Sidak si tahu kita pemburu Sidak cemburu Tanda sidak sakit say I see you Kita ke ulu Sidak si tahu kita pemburu Sidak cemburu Tanda sidak sakit say I see you
Saksikan Hustle Hasil setiap Sabtu dan Ahad 12.15 tengah hari hanya di TVS saluran 122 Astro dan My Freeview.
Minggu ini, TVS membawakan kepada anda sequel kepada filem drama romantis Sembilu arahan Dato' Yusof Haslam.
Aku dan dia hanya sekadar kawan.
Wati telah menamatkan pengajiannya dan kini mengambil alih syarikat arwah ayahnya bagi menggantikan tempat abangnya, Azman.
Thanks for the lovely dinner.
Hubungan Wati dan Awi berjalan dengan lancar.
I miss you.
Namun, kesibukan karier masing-masing dan obsesi Ziana untuk memiliki Awi memburukkan keadaan mereka.
Pada bulan puasa ini, you akan berduet dengan Awi.
Apakah Wati dan Awi kekal bersama akhirnya?
Tapi dalam masa yang sama kau buat urusan dengan lelaki lain.
Jangan terlepas untuk menyaksikan Sembilu 2 Sabtu 12 Mac 8.45 malam di TVS saluran 122 Astro dan My Freeview.
Now on to some global affairs. On Thursday, March 10, 50 family members with 20 children with chronic illnesses and cancer diagnosis crossed into Poland from Ukraine at the Medyka border crossing. They head to Poland where the children will be able to continue the treatment. Their journey began in Kharkiv, which has been heavily bombed by Russia since the start of the invasion on February 24th. Children were carried by paramedics onto a train with a special hospital carriage, equipped with stretchers and medical supplies, and staffed by trained medical personnel. On Thursday, the Polish border guard noted that 1.43 million people had entered the country from Ukraine since Russia invaded its neighbor. Russian President Vladimir Putin said there had been some progress in Russia's talk with Ukraine. However, he provided no details.
Я, безусловно, проинформирую вас и о ситуации на украинском направлении, и прежде всего о том, как идут сейчас переговоры, которые проводятся сейчас практически на ежедневной основе. И там есть определенные такие позитивные сдвиги, как мне доложили переговорщики с нашей стороны. Практика последних лет, она показала, что там, где западники ввели против нас ограничения, мы приобрели новые компетенции и восстановили старые на новом технологическом уровне. И это все работает. И мы, конечно, стали в этом смысле сильнее. И здесь вы правы. Это как раз, так можно сказать, это время возможностей для того, чтобы двигаться в направлении укрепления своего технологического и экономического суверенитета.
Putin did not elaborate, but said in the televised remarks that he would go into more detail with Lukashenko.
Now wrapping up the Nightline, China remains the world's largest COVID-19 vaccine provider. According to the spokesman of the 5th session of the 13th National People's Congress, or NPC, Zhang Yisui, China has made plans ahead in the COVID-19 vaccine cooperation with other countries in the world. He said Chinese President Xi Jinping announced China's COVID-19 vaccine would become a global public goods once it was put into use in the early days of the pandemic, and has called on equality of vaccine distribution globally.
到目前为止，中国已经向120多个国家和国际组织提供了超过21亿剂疫苗，占中国以外全球疫苗使用总量的1/3，是对外提供疫苗最多的国家。当然，这120多个国家中，绝大多数是发展中国家。中国提供的疫苗为很多发展中国家构筑免疫屏障，恢复社会生活发挥了重要作用，增强了发展中国家抗疫的能力、信心和决心。
He then introduced China's next step in vaccine cooperation with other countries and the donation of vaccines to other countries in the world.
中国将继续坚持把发展中国家作为疫苗合作的主要伙伴。近期，习近平主席宣布，将再向非洲国家提供10亿剂疫苗，其中6亿剂为无偿援助，4亿剂以中方企业与有关非洲国家联合生产等方式提供，助力非洲国家实现非盟确定的2022年60%非洲人口接种疫苗的目标，再向东盟国家提供约1.5亿剂的疫苗无偿援助。中国也一直高度重视并积极推动疫苗研发、生产、分配的国际合作。中国的一些企业也同多个发展中国家合作生产并灌装疫苗，同多个发展中国家签署联合生产疫苗协议，初步形成了超过10亿剂的年产能。关于你刚才提到的新冠 mRNA， 据我了解，国内的一些企业正在进行研发，而且取得了积极的进展。
With regard to vaccine technologies, China now has 3 types of COVID-19 vaccines. First is the inactivated vaccines, including those produced by Sinovac and Sinopharm. Second is the adenovirus vector vaccine that is firstly developed by a research team led by Chen Wei, an academician with the Chinese Academy of Engineering, and later produced by CanSino. And the last one is the recombinant protein vaccine.
And that concludes the Nightline for tonight. With that, I'm Handy Gui. Stay safe and have a pleasant evening.